Hello everyone, you have come to Tata Comic Preview channel. Let read together. Have fun. Ever since he became Tiandao, Zhou had been reminiscing about the past where he fought against 10 cultivators. He went through the scenes when the mountain was being besieged. That was the true strength of an 8-leaf cultivator. He obtained the power through the peak form card in the end. Although it was an enjoyable battle, it felt slightly unreal. The crushing strength granted by the peak form card lacked the pressure and excitement from being in danger. However, the injured Qiongqi gave him those feelings today. He felt nostalgic when he felt his battle intent. Naturally, this was the outcome when his extraordinary power was completely exhausted. Qiongqi's strength had exceeded his expectations. He could only manage to injure it with half of his extraordinary power, he could not kill it. Clearly, it was as tough as Qi Yao of the Black Water. Throughout the battle, the combination of extraordinary power and his 8-leaf cultivation base managed to hurt Qiongqi. The man and beast fought for hours. The cultivators looked at the sky, but they did not feel tired. If 2 8-leaf cultivators were to fight, it was not surprising if they fought for 5 days and 5 nights. However, Zhou had no intention of spending so much time fighting the beast. He was going to give it his all. With this, Qiongqi would have to respond in kind. The duration of their battle would be greatly reduced. Bam! There was another sound of a collision. Zhou flew backward. Qiongqi flipped backward as well. Zhou gauged the remaining primal qi in his Dantian sea of qi, he only had half left. Qiongqi was not in a much better state. Apart from its flattened hair, its nose was bruised, and its face was swollen. As it panted, its belly rose and fell in tandem. It lowered its stance and flicked its tongue out. Zhou looked down at the tear on his sleeve. "You're the first beast that managed to damage my sleeve. I'll give you another chance. Surrender and you may live." Upon hearing this, the other cultivators were speechless. An elite was truly an elite. To think this was the first time the Patriarch had his sleeve damaged by his opponent. When they thought about it, they wondered if it did not count when the 10 great sects dealt grievous injuries to the Patriarch. If it did not, then, there was no issue with the Patriarch's words. Woof. 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 The strange Qiongqi barked thrice. Zhou, naturally, did not understand it. Moreover, the system did not send him any notification saying the beast had been tamed. He would have to forge on, it seemed. "If you refuse to submit, I'll continue beating you until you submit." With a flurry of movements, Zhou launched energy fists out. Qiongqi struck with its claws and flapped its wings. Bam. 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 The energy fists were like a tempest when it struck the beast's chest. Qiongqi was huge. However, it did not underestimate this frail human. Growling. Qiongqi suddenly rolled around. It brought its fangs down as it attempted to maul Zhou. Zhou thrust his hand upward and summoned his avatar. The 100-foot avatar wrapped around Zhou and held Qiongqi's jaw. Bam! Qiongqi did not expect Zhou to suddenly summon his avatar. Although it had a huge mouth, it could not swallow a 100-foot avatar. There was a crisp sound as one of its fangs broke off. It roared and thrashed in pain. Bam! Zhou used his avatar to block the incoming attacks. Nevertheless, the huge impact pushed him back. The avatar disappeared. Zhou stabilized his footing. Livestock. "Are you satisfied now?" He extended his arms and pushed up. Energy swords appeared. Primal restoration. The energy swords thrummed and vibrated. Qiongqi flapped its wings in a frenzy. Its hairs stood up again. It seemed exhausted. "You're furious?" Zhou frowned. He was certain this beast was of the 9-leaf stage. He did not feel as strained when he was fighting Jiang Wenxu back then. Without a second thought, he launched the energy swords of primal restoration. Swoosh. 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 They merged into one and stabbed at Qiongqi. Then, Lu Zhou flipped his palm around before unnamed materialized in his hand. Lu Zhou rose into the air. Livestock. If you're not willing to submit, I'll send you on your way. The energy swords wrapped around unnamed. Although Qiongqi was furious, he was just like an arrow at the end of its flight at this moment. A powerful defense would not do him any good. Unnamed could surely breach his defense. Lu Zhou held unnamed as charged forward at top speed. The primal qi in his Dantian sea of qi condensed into energy. Lu Zhou saw the fervor in Qiongqi's eyes. This livestock loved to battle. Return and enter 3 souls. 3 shadows appeared. Even Qiongqi was distracted. In the next second, Lu Zhou swung with unnamed. When it looked up, Lu Zhou saw a look of fear in its eyes. He pressed with his thumb and turned the blade 180 degrees around. Bam! The blade and the energy sword struck Qiongqi's body. Bam! Qiongqi flew sideways. Lu Zhou stepped into the air. He wielded his sword in his right hand and raised it. I'm giving you a chance here. I'll take your life if you insist on being stubborn. Lu Zhou's loud and clear voice reached Qiongqi's ears. Unexpectedly, Qiongqi did not choose to submit. As much as it loved to fight, it did not have any intention to continue the fight. It wanted to retreat. Lu Zhou stepped forward. Everyone who saw this was stunned. The Patriarch really defeated Qiongqi with his 8-leaf power. Who in the world could do this, apart from him? The 2 Red Lotus cultivators who were being watched by Nan Gongwei and Feng Yizhi had lost all ability to think. They had sent the information of the 9-leaf stage progress in Great Yan back to the Sky Marshal Court. However, it seemed like they had jumped the gun. They had underestimated the strength of a 9-leaf cultivator here. Lu Zhou looked at Qiongqi. Too late. Growling. Lu Zhou knew Qiongqi was either going to attack or flee. Lu Zhou shook his head. I'll leave your fate to the heavens. It's up to you to survive this. Thunderblast. Lu Zhou flipped his right hand. Unnamed was replaced with a Thunderblast card. This was his final Thunderblast card. There was a sure kill rate of 1% and a 10% rate of dealing a serious injury. The Thunderblast card shattered. In just an instant, thunder clouds rolled above the 9 heavens. A purple bolt of energy akin to a bolt of lightning appeared. Then, the purple energy struck Qiongqi. Boom. Lu Zhou observed Qiongqi silently, waiting for the result. There was no announcement of its death nor were there any rewards of merit points. You're in luck. Qiongqi's body was charred as though it was struck by actual lightning. Having been heavily injured prior to this, Qiongqi could no longer support its huge body, and it plummeted to the ground. The others exclaimed in shock. Boom. Qiongqi crashed onto the ground and destroyed several barns. Lu Zhou descended, holding a deadly strike card in his hand. The sky above Yu Province City was once again peaceful. The cultivators got closer to the barn and looked at where Qiongqi crashed. Lu Zhou went up to the place where Qiongqi was lying. Qiongqi blinked. Its body was black. Moreover, its life aura was weak as gossamer. Lu Zhou frowned slightly. Have I gone overboard? Can I still own it when it's this wounded? He looked at the heavily wounded Qiongqi and asked, I can save you if you submit to me. Woof. Qiongqi barked weakly. It was a weak bark. At this time, a notification rang in Lu Zhou's mind. Ding. Qiongqi is tamed. Master recognition is successful. You are now Qiongqi's master. Reward, 5,000 merit points. I did it. Lu Zhou nodded, pleased. Seeing that the beast was charred, he wondered if he should go back on his words and kill Qiongqi to earn more merit points. Oh well, since you've submitted to me, I shall fulfill my promise. Lu Zhou flipped his palm. His remaining extraordinary power surged out before a blue lotus appeared and bloomed. Vitality swirled around Qiongqi. It's not enough. Lu Zhou frowned. He raised his palm again. A critical heal card shattered. The Buddhist merciful arc of salvation appeared. The double effects of vitality and healing wrapped around Xiongqi. Xiongqi tried to lift its paw, but it could not move. It tried to move its head as well but discovered he could only blink. All it could at this moment was blink its eyes and pant heavily. In the end, it closed its eyes and whimpered once. The cultivators in the air above Yu Province City sighed. They knew Senior Ji's intention for doing this. However, taming a mount was an incredibly difficult feat. Moreover, this was a ferocious beast. As the saying went, it's easier to change a mountain than to change a person's character. Similarly, how could wild dogs change their nature? How could beasts tamper their instinct to dominate? Although the cultivators sighed, they felt relieved as well. Some of the cultivators hovering in the air and looked down and said, "Senior Ji, your might knows no bounds. You're truly impressive. However, this beast is stubborn to the very end. In the end, it has brought about its own death. Fortunately, you arrived in time, Senior Ji. Otherwise, there would have been a rain of blood in Yu Province City." Zhou stared at Xiongqi intently. He had yet to receive the notification of Xiongqi's death. Therefore, he knew Xiongqi was not dead. Zhou continued to wait and observe. He would not leave until the result was clear. He had been fighting Xiongqi for a long time and spent all his extraordinary power. Apart from that, he had exhausted his item cards as well. If it died like this, he would incur a huge loss. Since Zhou did not move, the other, naturally, did not dare to rush him. They remained hovering in the air as they looked down. Without the barrier and the clouds in the skies, the heat of the scorching sun hit the land mercilessly. It shone on Xiongqi, whose eyes were closed. The burned Xiongqi looked like a piece of dried charcoal at this moment. The cultivators' cultivation bases could keep them cool, so they did not mind the heat very much. However, Xiongqi was not as fortunate. Ding. Xiongqi has given up on living. Ding. Killed Xiongqi. Reward, 5,000 merit points. Given up on living? It really died? I've been painstakingly trying to tame it, but it died? Why did it give up on living? Zhou's mind was filled with questions. At this moment, Bian lunged forward. Bam! It landed on Xiongqi's carcass and stomped on it, eyeing Xiongqi warily. Bian, get off it. Compared to the huge Xiongqi, Bian seemed small. Bian obeyed Zhou's order. It leaped off the carcass and lay down next to it as it kept its eyes trained on Xiongqi. Crack. A crisp sound suddenly rang in the air. Zhou looked at Xiongqi's body. Xiongqi's body that was charred seemed to have cracked open. Crack. 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 Cracking noises continued to ring in the air. Upon seeing this, the cultivators hovering in the air were shocked. This is incredible, this is truly incredible. A cultivator who had a keen eye nodded as exclaimed, "I've loved reading books about beasts in the past. I didn't expect to be able to see Xiongqi in real life. Xiongqi is notorious for its love to fight for dominance. It's impossible to tame an adult Xiongqi. However, it's possible to tame a young Xiongqi." A young Xiongqi? Keep watching, everyone. Crack. The charred portion of Xiongqi's body continued to crack. Then, a louder crack rang in the air as the charred part broke away completely. It gave birth? The others exclaimed in amazement. Realization finally dawned on them. Zhou was also looking at Xiongqi's belly in surprise. As they expected, a young Xiongqi emerged from the adult Xiongqi's belly. Its wings were as supple as a newborn. It had yellow fur, and its limbs were trembling from its weight. It climbed up with great difficulty on the charred Xiongqi, looking as though it was going to fall at any moment. Nobody expected the huge Xiongqi's offspring would be so tiny. It was rather difficult to believe. Its size was akin to that of domestic sheep, it was barely larger than a puppy. Zhou stroked his beard as he looked at Xiongqi's pup. How awkward. The cultivator who was knowledgeable about Qiongqi cupped his fists and said, "Congratulations, Senior Ji, on obtaining the mount, Qiongqi." Lu Zhou looked at the person and asked, "Do you know much about Qiongqi?" Senior Ji. Qiongqi isn't like other beasts. According to the records, it's one of the 4 perils. It's so vicious that it would even devour its mother. Therefore, even if you didn't kill the adult Qiongqi, the pup will one day devour its mother as well. Qiongqi is very intelligent. To prevent that from happening, usually, they would not mate. What a surprise that this one was pregnant. Upon hearing these words, the others cupped their fists together. Congratulations, Senior Ji. Lu Zhou nodded. He looked at the person and said, "You're not bad." Thank you, Senior Ji. I've always admired the Evil Sky Pavilion. I wonder if I may join the pavilion. Everyone instantly turned to look at the man. Lu Zhou said, "I've always admired talented people. Since you have the intention, you may join the Nether Sect's branch in Yu Province City and become its branch master. What do you think?" The man was elated when he heard these words. He bowed and said, "Thank you, Senior Ji." This also showed the others that joining the Evil Sky Pavilion was not easy as they thought it would be. At this moment, the little Qiongqi took a few faltering steps on the charred carcass as it flapped its wings. Swoosh! The little Qiongqi leaped off. Thud! It fell onto the ground in a spectacular manner. Lu Zhou frowned as he saw this. He considered his options. A second ago, he had felt he had obtained the most powerful mount in the world. Now, he felt that might not necessarily be the case. Lu Zhou checked the system dashboard. As he expected, Qiongqi's name was added to the list. This meant that little Qiongqi was indeed his mount. Little Qiongqi was not discouraged by this little setback. Instead, it got back up on its feet and walked to Lu Zhou. Woof. 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 It barked at Bian, looking like a puppy trying to be fierce. Lu Zhou was speechless. Bian bared its fangs. Little Qiongqi immediately lowered its head. Its bark became a whimper. The other cultivators broke out in laughter. Even so, none of them dared to underestimate this little Qiongqi. Senior Ji, this Qiongqi might be little now, but it grows at a very quick pace compared to humans. I believe it'll become a powerful helper to you in less than a few years. A few years. Lu Zhou could not even wait for months. He waved his arm. He sent it onto Bian's back with his energy and said, "Look after it." Bian lay down. Nan Gongwei and Feng Yizhi flew over, each with a person in tow. Congratulations, Senior Ji, the duo said in unison. The cultivators in the skies were puzzled when they saw this. When the 2 cultivators whom Nan Gongwei and Feng Yizhi brought over saw the huge carcass, a frightened expression appeared on their faces as their eyes widened in shock. Qiongqi is dead? He's even capable of killing Qiongqi. This? Both of them gulped, speechless. Nan Gongwei looked at the 2 of them before kicking them. On your knees. Don't you know that you should salute Senior Ji when you see him? The 2 of them fell to their knees immediately. Senior Ji. We're from the same side. Why are you doing this? That's right. What did we do? Why are you treating us like this? The duo feigned an innocent expression on their faces. The cultivators hovering in the air did not understand what was happening. They turned to look at Lu Zhou. Lu Zhou said indifferently, "Where did 2 of you enter from?" The duo's hearts trembled. However, they feigned a bewildered expression and said, "Enter from where? I don't understand." Lu Zhou flipped his palm. The golden Taishu mirror appeared. With his remaining primal chi, he activated the mirror and shone its golden light at the duo.